President Biden is giving remarks urging Congress to pass his national security supplemental request that includes funding for Ukraine. Let's listen in.
Congress needs to pass supplemental funding for Ukraine before they break for the holiday resources. As simple as that. Frankly, I think it's stunning that we've gotten to this point in the first place. While Congress, Republicans in Congress are willing to give Putin the greatest gift he could hope for and abandon our global leadership, not just in Ukraine, but beyond that. We've all seen the brutality that Putin has inflicted on Ukraine, invading another country, trying to subjugate his neighbors to his iron rule, committing atrocities against Ukrainian civilians, trying to plunge them into the cold and darkness of winter by bombing their electrical grid so they don't have any heat during the winter, or electricity for that matter, kidnapping thousands of Ukrainian children from their parents and families and keeping them in Russia. Russian forces are committing war crimes. It's as simple as that. It's stunning. Who is prepared to walk away from holding Putin accountable for this behavior? Who among us is really prepared to do that? You know, for the better part of 2 years, the brave people of Ukraine have denied Russia a victory on the battlefield. They've defeated Vladimir Putin's ambition to dominate Ukraine. And the people of the United States can and should take pride. They should take pride that we've enabled Ukraine's success thanks to the steady supply of weapons and ammunition. We provided them together with our partners and our allies. I just did a meeting with the G7, which was one of the issues we discussed. All of the European leaders. We are prepared to stay with us, stay with Ukraine. And our European friends are as well. Who in the United States are prepared to walk away from that? I tell you, I'm not prepared to walk away. And I don't think the American people are either. If Putin takes Ukraine, he won't stop there. It's important to see the long run here. He's going to keep going. He's made that pretty clear. If Putin attacks a NATO ally, if he keeps going, and then he attacks a NATO ally, where we've committed as a NATO member that we defend every inch of NATO territory, then we'll have something that we don't seek and that we don't have today. American troops fighting Russian troops. American troops fighting Russian troops if he moves into other parts of NATO. Make no mistake, today's vote's going to be long remembered, and history's going to judge harshly those who turn their back on freedom's cause. We can't let Putin win. Say it again, we can't let Putin win. It's in our overwhelming national interest and international interest of all our friends. Any disruption in our ability to supply Ukraine clearly strengthens Putin's position. We've run out of money to be able to do that in terms of authorization. Extreme Republicans are playing chicken with our national security, holding Ukraine's funding hostage to their extreme partisan border policies. Let me be clear. We need real solutions. I support real solutions at the border. I put forward a comprehensive plan the first day I came into office. I made it clear that we need Congress to make changes to fix what is a broken immigration system, because we all know it's broken. And I'm willing to do significantly more. But in terms of changes of policy and to provide resources that we need at the border, I'm ready to change policy as well. I've asked for billions of dollars for more border agents, more immigration judges, more asylum officers. Republicans have to decide if they want a political issue or if they want a solution at the border. Do they really want a solution? It cannot be sustained as it is now. We need a real solution. And my team has been engaged in negotiations with Senate Democrats and Republicans on border security. Democrats have put forward a bipartisan compromise on the table. Leaders Schumer and Senate Democrats also have offered to let Republicans propose amendments to that border proposal. But Republicans have rejected it. Said, no, we don't want you to even introduce your proposal, because then we're not going to, and even though the Democrats say you can amend it any way you want. No, we don't want to do that. This has to be a negotiation. If Republicans think they get everything they want without any bipartisan compromise, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. And now they're willing to literally kneecap Ukraine on the battlefield and damage our national security in the process. Look, I know we have our divisions at home. Let's get past them. This is critical. Petty, partisan, angry politics can't get in the way of our responsibility as a leading nation in the world. And literally, the entire world is watching. The entire world is watching. What will the United States do? And think if we don't support Ukraine, what's the rest of the world going to do? What's Japan going to do, which is supporting Ukraine now? What's going to happen in terms of the G7? What's going to happen in terms of our NATO allies? What are they going to do? If we walk away now, it'll only embolden other would-be aggressors. So I'm calling on Congress to do something and do the right thing, to stand with the people of Ukraine, stand against the tyranny of Putin, stand for freedom, literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. We're the reason Putin has not totally overrun Ukraine and moved beyond that. And you all heard me talk about it before. If in fact we walk away, how many of our European friends are going to continue to fund? And at what rates are they going to continue to fund it? This is too serious. Like I said, I am willing to make significant compromises on the border. We need to fix the broken border system. It is broken. And thus far, I've gotten no response. So I just, we're going to be a vote a little bit later today. We'll know where we go from there. But I wanted to make this comment before the vote, and I'm sure I'll be talking with you after the vote. Thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it.
Mr. President, given the current impasse, would you be okay with Democrats willing to put more on border policy to get this current package through?
Yes.
What would you be okay with Democrats agreeing to?
I've already laid out in our negotiations with Lankford and others what we're willing to do, significantly more, particularly by starting off equipping the border capacity that we need on the border, from judges to more border security, in addition to making some substantive changes. But they're unwilling to do it. We thought I really thought, I felt good for a while. I thought we were making some real progress. Lankford's a decent guy. It looked like he was prepared to move in a way, in a direction that we could come up with a compromise, both changing in substance, changing policy on the border, as well as security at the border. But they've walked away. It's take everything we have here, their one proposal, which is extreme, or nothing. In the meantime, the nothing means we don't get any support for our friends and the innocent people of Ukraine. Anyway, I'll talk to you more after the vote.
Also China. President Biden on Ukraine and also China. There's polling by the Associated Press that shows that almost 70% of Americans, including 40% of Democrats, believe that you acted either illegally or unethically in regards to your family's business interests. Can you explain to the Americans amid this impeachment inquiry why you interacted with so many of your son and brother's foreign business associates?
I'm not going to comment that I did not, and it's just a bunch of lies.
You didn't interact with many of their business associates?
I did not. There's lies.
Mr. President, do you think there is any Democrat who could defeat Donald Trump other than you?
And that was President Biden there urging Congress to pass his supplemental national security request, which of course includes funding to support Ukraine in their fight against Russia. We heard Biden making the case that if Russian President Vladimir Putin is able to take Ukraine, he will not stop there. He also recognized Republicans' demand for actions on border security, but said that they have rejected Democrats' proposal on this issue. He did say, though, he is willing to make some compromises, but accused Republicans of trying to kneecap Ukraine on the battlefield, urging them to stand for freedom. With more on that, let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill, along with ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. Selena, let's start with you. How big of a priority is this for the president?
This is the top priority, Morgan. As a war is raging in the Middle East, the president bringing the war in Ukraine back to the forefront of the American people. And he had a very simple message there, which is time is running out. Congress needs to put aside its partisan differences, and Congress needs to act, saying that if this $61 billion supplemental aid to Ukraine does not get passed, that would help Putin to prevail. And the argument that the president, the White House has been consistently making is that this is not just about Europe's national security. This is about America's national security and global national security, that Putin will not stop, that if he is allowed to prevail and to transgress in Ukraine, he will continue his aggressive actions, and that it could even eventually lead to American boots on the ground fighting Russian forces. He said, we do not want to get to that point. It is America's support that has prevented that from getting to this point, Morgan.
Yeah, we heard the president really laying out the stakes there, using some really strong imagery from the atrocities that, we've seen in Ukraine over the past few months. Jay, I want you to break down this funding request and some of the sticking points for lawmakers on this Hill.
Well, there was a $100 billion plus funding request from the president. It's now about $111 billion. It includes funding for Ukraine and funding for Israel and border security provisions as well. And what the president was kind of talking about there, remember, is that Republicans said they didn't want to vote on that foreign aid request unless it had significant policy changes to immigration policy in the United States. Not just money for border security, but policy changes. And the president signaled in those remarks just then that he was open to that. And he said he was following the negotiations that were playing out last week closely, at one point saying he was optimistic in the direction that negotiations were going, but those negotiations have now completely stalled out. They are nowhere now. And the president saying that on that vote today, that procedural vote on that foreign aid package, quote, history will remember those who, quote, turn a blind eye to freedom's cause, throwing down the gauntlet there for Republicans who vote against this package today, Morgan.
Yeah, certainly, Jay. We'll see how all of this plays out. Selena, I want to ask you this one more thing. This push comes on the heels of the Justice Department bringing war crimes charges against 4 Russian soldiers for torturing an American citizen. How is this White House responding to that?
Well, look, President Biden himself has said before that the atrocities that Russian military has committed against Ukrainians amounts to genocide, and also formally declaring earlier this year that Russia has committed war crimes, war atrocities. Now, this is really going to, this historic charge from the Justice Department, bring back to the forefront what has happened to the Ukrainian people, that America must stand with the Ukrainian people, making a very stark choice to Congress and the American people, which is America can either stand on the side of democracy, the fight for freedom in Ukraine, or allow Putin to prevail. Morgan.
Selena Wang and Jay O'Brien, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.